Okay, guys. Hey, we are live on LinkedIn as well.
We did it.
Oh, okay. So I'm ready to go. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit live when we're ready. I'm all set up. So I'll let people in and then apparently I just hit go live on LinkedIn, but we're streaming.
It worked.
Oh,
It didn't
oh.
work before, but now it works.
All right. Let me let everybody in. I'm gonna kill the waiting room. And here we go. Yeah. Hey, everybody. Hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Okay, so we are gonna push live on LinkedIn here, and then we're gonna rock and roll. Go live. Hey, we are live. Okay, everybody, hello and good morning. Welcome. So who do we have here in the chat? I see people still come back. Happy New Year. Hello. I suppose still returning in. Happy New Year. All right, so in the chat, where is everybody from? Welcome to Town Hall. It's always my favorite question. Where's everybody joining us from? Happy New Year. Hello. A lot of people joining. Mountain View, yay! Where's everybody from? Lisbon, yay! India. Hello, Sudhakara. Yay, India. Very nice. Connecticut, very nice. Kind of cold, but lovely. Hello. All right, so if you are joining us on LinkedIn, welcome. I'm just going to give a few minutes here as we bring people in, and we will definitely be on the LinkedIn chat as well. So give us a few minutes and then we'll go ahead and get started. And welcome to everyone. You see on here, I have the lovely Miss Maggie, and we have some outstanding, amazing guests on here as well that we'll introduce in just 2 minutes. People are still joining. Welcome. Yay.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year. All right. Okay, I will go ahead and start to share my screen to get us kind of kicked off here, and then we will be rocking and rolling. Okay. All right, everybody. So if you're on LinkedIn, thank you for joining us as well. Happy New Year to everyone. I hope you guys can see my screen. So for those of you who do not know me, my name is Mico 𝗖𝗀𝗲, and I am DataHub Community Manager. I think I finally hit 6 months, Maggie. Am I 5 months, 6 months? 6
Time
months?
flies. Who knows? It could be 5,
Yeah.
it could be 20. I couldn't tell you.
It feels like 3 years, but we won't talk about that right now. Anyways, happy New Year's, everyone. Guys, we are so excited. This is a very special town hall because we are gonna do not just that we have a very special case study from Airtel with how DataHub became the bedrock of data mesh at Airtel. If you guys have not heard about Airtel, it is super duper awesome. It's like one of the biggest mobile companies in the world based out of India. And then we have Miss Maggie is gonna do an insane visual situation here, guys. Like this visualization is insanity. So, being a data visualization person, I'm like, yes. She's going to go over 2023 and review. And then Shirshanka is going to close us off with what to expect in 2024. So I'm really excited to have everybody here. Like I said, whether you're on Zoom or you're on LinkedIn, we will be monitoring the chat. Go ahead and post your questions, and we are going to go ahead and get started. Okay, so again, happy holidays, happy New Year's. That's from the entire Acryl team, to our customers, our new DataHub champions, our DataHub community. Just happy New Year to everyone. Thank you for being here. Again, as I mentioned, we have a fairly thick but short agenda. It's a little bit out of sorts here, but we're going to do the updates and shoutouts first. We're then going to do the case study. We're going to do the DataHub 2023 year in review, and then we're going to do what's coming ahead. All right, so let's start with some updates. So super exciting. So I'm very sure by the time we have our next town hall at the end of January, we are going to be past 10,000 Slack members. We're about, I want to say 9,864. So thank you guys so much. In addition, we have almost 1,000 weekly active users. We had almost 5,000 messages that were posted. Okay. And my correction, this is for December. I did some updating. Sorry, Maggie. I went updated to January. This is December 2023. And we had almost 600 reactions and emojis. Again, I'm pretty sure I'm at least 100 of those, but let's keep it coming. In addition, let's talk about what we are delivering. First, from a GitHub perspective, as you guys know, December is a little bit quieter. We typically lose, honestly, like half of the month. It just goes a bit quiet, but we are averaging about 40 PRs that are open in the last per week, in the last 4 weeks. In addition, in terms of our support messages, we're still tethering around about 250 messages per week. So I just want to say thank you, everybody. You guys know our team was out a little bit. If we were a bit delayed on our responses, forgive us and catch up, but thank you guys, and please keep it coming. We absolutely love you guys. Now for our shout out. So one of the beautiful things about kind of ending the year is that instead of just saying thank you for December support, we went ahead and did a tally of the top supporters for the entire 2023. Okay, so you notice that this list is super extended, but Lou, I don't want to butcher your name, Zian Long and Steve Pham, you guys are awesome. Steve is actually in our champion program, and you can see this list here. If you're not in our DataHub Slack community, you absolutely need to join now. I'll put the link in the comments once I'm done. Join us, join us, join us. Have everybody that you know join us, but we really want to thank these people for their insane support for 2023. So if you're on here, thank you, thank you, thank you. And we have an announcement. So first of all, let me see in the chat. Did anybody on here join us last month for our very first DataHub Community Marathon? It was epic. Okay, Maggie, what was the average time people spent with us? It was like 120 minutes on average.
Yeah, we had I think 105 people join over the 12 hours, and 50% of people stayed for an hour or longer. And we had, I'm not kidding, like 25% of people were there for 3 or more hours. I do not understand that. And that was like, we took all of our tweets out of that calculation. It was people from the community hanging out with us for 3+ hours. It was freaking rad.
Yeah, it was pretty insane, needless to say. So thank you guys so much. And the big announcement I have is that because of the success, we have decided to make it a monthly event. Because one of the things that we also noticed through our data is, honestly, we had a lot less support messages in that week, which means that you guys held your questions, you showed up. And as you guys know, this event is very special because all of our key engineers show up. We even had Joyce. He was addicted. So he's our founding engineer and he could lead the event. So if you have big questions, stuff you posted in Slack, our next event is coming up January 18th. I will again drop the links to RSVP, but join us. You could join us for 5 minutes. We hope not, or you could join us for 8 hours or 12 hours. It's an all-day event. So I'll have more details on that soon. In addition, we have another exciting event. So did anybody on here join Shirshanka's, and I say Shirshanka's, but first the code and data leadership that we did last month? I think we had Ben Stansel from Mode, and then Maggie was the host, and we had Taylor from Count. DDL is posted live on LinkedIn. Shirshanka is going to be talking about, so this event's coming up January 11th. That's actually next week. I'll drop the link again. And he's going to be talking about the coding AI in 2024 and the role of metadata. Okay, so you guys absolutely need to join him. He'll be featuring the lovely 𝗲𝗂 Raghavan. She's the head of engineering and co-founder at Kumo.ai. And this discussion is going to be awesome. It's about a half an hour. You guys will get to ask questions, so definitely come in. And I will post the link again to this event, and we'll be talking about the role of metadata with all the CI stuff. Last but not least, so no one's confused, this is the December town hall that we pushed out. We are still having a January town hall. So please attend and don't watch and go, wait, what happened to January? There's 2 of them. Yes, there is. No one was around like 2 weeks ago. So we are definitely excited to see you guys to come back. We'll be back on regular schedule with a few exciting updates, January 25th. And I'll also post the link, but please attend our town hall. Okay, so before we move into the next segment, we also have a webinar. So one of the things that is super, right, thank you, Shirshanka. Shirshanka said January is the new December. We have an exciting webinar, guys. PayPal's data journey. They're going to teach you guys how to drive in increased data awareness and governance at scale. So I will again post all these links once I hand it over to Airtel for all of these events. You guys need to sign up. Exciting webinar as well. Do not skip our marathon, but this is only an hour. The marathon's 12 hours. Definitely join us to find out more about Acryl and their journey with our product and see what they are doing. They are an awesome company, which I'm sure everybody knows. Okay, so before we get started here, and I need to switch my slides around, I do want to do a really quick poll. So it's always interesting, and if you guys are on LinkedIn, I do apologize for this, but I do want to do a quick poll to kind of find out what journey people are on. So give me 1 second here, because as we start the year, I think it's like super important just to understand, like, what stage are you guys here? Because we're trying to better tailor our content in your DataHub journey. So you should see a poll coming up here. If you could just take a quick minute to answer. If you are in LinkedIn, I'll go ahead and just read out the stages. If someone could go in LinkedIn and look for me. Stage 1 is evaluating catalogs. Stage 2 is doing a DataHub proof of concept. Stage 3 is deploying to production. Mwah, we love you. And stage 4 is rolling out to your organization. That means you're doing the big wheels. So if you're on there on LinkedIn, go ahead and just post what stage you're at. And if you're on the Zoom, if you could just answer, I think we have about 50% answers so far. Anybody else? I will go ahead and close this out. We're just curious to kind of see, and I'll share the results because they give us an idea of kind of where people are in the journey, especially starting 2024. Okay, awesome. Let me see. Wait, a few more coming in here. Some people are changing their answers. Okay, so let's take a look here. I'll go ahead and share the results, and maybe Shirshanka and Maggie, you guys can comment really quick, and then we'll hand it over to Airtel. Interesting. So we have a kind, I'm loving to see 30% are rolling it out. This is great. Shirshanka, Maggie, any responses to our poll?
Yeah, I'm really thrilled to see such like a steady or like consistent distribution of it. And surprise, we're also going to talk about this in the year in review on kind of how that matched or what we saw within the community, kind of where people were in their adoption journey. So yeah, it's consistent with what we're hearing, and we always love to see folks that are successfully rolling out to prod and rolling it out to their org. Really exciting stuff.
It's very interesting because above we kind of have like an even distribution with stage 1 and stage 2. So but it's good to see that more people are rolling out. Okay, thank you. Okay, so without further ado, I want to proceed forward to introduce our special guest, and let me spotlight this here for everyone. I'm going to bring up Shikhar and Vivek. Let's add you guys here and make sure your audio is working. Huh? Hello, Airtel.
Hello.
Yes. Okay, so by far one of the funnest companies. Seriously, these guys are a marketing machine. There's a Harvard study on them. I mean, you guys are gonna love this presentation, okay? And not to mention data mesh is like buzzword galore, all right? And so they're gonna go ahead and share with you guys how they're using DataHub for data mesh. So you guys go ahead and take it away, share your screen. And by the way, if you are again on LinkedIn or Zoom, go ahead and put your questions in the chat. We will address it, but I'm gonna go ahead and hand it over.
Perfect. Thank you. So thanks everyone for joining in. We are Airtel. The topic for today's talk is how the metadata management platform, which is DataHub, has become the bedrock of data mesh at Airtel. The speakers for the day are going to be Shikhar and I. Shikhar is the lead engineer. I am a product manager, looking at the transformation of our data platform. We at Airtel are amongst the top 3 mobile service providers across the world. Our India subscriber base is more than the entire US population. Just to give you a brief into what our data journey has been, until 2018, our data was siloed. It was fragmented. Since 2018, we started centralizing the data into a centralized data lake. Our compute looks like that daily we process around 10,000 plus jobs, 30 plus petabytes of data. However, over time, we've realized that centralization comes at a cost, and because of which we've moved towards a data mesh decentralized architecture. I'm sure the audience of of the talk would be aware that there is what the principles of data mesh are, but just to emphasize, it essentially means that the ownership of data should rely with the producers of the data, which is essentially data domain ownership. The second principle is that data should be treated as a product. We'll go and deep dive into what this essentially means. It also means that data governance should not be an afterthought, but the responsibility of governance lies both with the data domains as well as a centralized organization. And finally, that these principles need to be upholded by a platform which is able to provide a self-serve mechanism to to the users of the data platform so that they are able to orchestrate their data journeys. Now, just to focus on what data as a product essentially means, it has certain different dimensions. Specifically, that the data should be discoverable, data should be addressable, it should be trustworthy, self-describing, and secure. It is on these dimensions that DataHub plays a very, very critical role to be the bedrock on providing the requisite governance in place through its metadata management. And we'll talk about each of these dimensions, describing it on how Airtel is leveraging DataHub to provide the same. But before that, Shikhar will take you through what our tech stack looks like. Shikhar?
Sure. Thank you guys for joining in. So let's start with something like a user journey. See, so this particular, so let me start explaining the architecture in terms of first how the user journey looks like. So after, once you're part of any domain or a system, which is one of the principles of data mesh. So you will come in as, taking in a proposal for a particular data product. So once you propose a requirement of a data product, so the next step that you would want to do, you would want to create the data product. Right. So creating the data product essentially means you would go to first step of ingesting the raw data from outside sources, writing into some storage, right? And once that initial data is written, you would want to transform. So after transforming the data, what you will essentially get is a data product. Then you will have a query layer, which is there for the consumption of the consumer, which is one of the personas in the data mesh. So, so in order to implement this particular flow, what you need is a set of tools. So what you see here are certain tools which are, which we have built in-house, and there are certain tools which we have taken from the open source community. So in order to implement this particular flow, what you see, we start with a hierarchy management tool, which is essentially where you go ahead and create your domains, define what roles and what people are in those roles. So then, as you say, as part of the user journey, there is something called a business proposal, which is there, which is you proposing a data product in a certain domain system. Okay, so there is a internal tool which is BRF, which does this, takes in the requirement, formalizes it, and justifies the need of a data product in any of the domain system. So then what you're going to do is, like, as you see in the user flow, that you need to ingest, right? So then there is an ingestion platform which is there, which we call ICF, ingestion configuration forms, we call it. So so there you can drive your ingestion just by certain configurations, right? So one of the primary drivers of thoughts behind the platform is that it should be very easy for users to do things that they want to do. So we have kept things very simple so that your ingestion is all configuration driven. So once you've ingested, read into a particular storage via configuration, then you can go ahead and use DBT. The USP of DBT here is that we are letting people create transformations using query. So this DBT enables us to use simple queries to create complex pipelines, right? So moving ahead, so once you've seen the tools we use, let's also talk about a bit about the core architecture which there is. So basically, so using the tools which are there, and you try integrating streams, APIs, files, DBs, right? Through our tools to architecture which you see in front. So we have a certain workflow manager, which is Airflow. So whatever jobs which are ingestion jobs, either it be ingestion jobs or those are data modeling, transformation jobs, those are all handled by a workflow manager, Airflow. Okay, so then you see what we try to do is like we have one of the things which you see above is federated query layer, right? That query layer is being enabled by the combination of this multi-tenant distributed gateway, which is 𝗖𝗍𝗲, okay, and your query engine, which is Trino. Okay, so similarly for the transformation engine, the DBT via the gateway talks with the transformation engine, which is Spark. Okay, so what we are doing here is this is the underlying tech stack where the user can query, they can schedule their transformations, their ingestions via this architecture. All right. So what you see on the very right are the reverse ETL applications, which is a custom home built thing. Then you have the dashboard. You can build dashboards using Tableau, and there is Jupyter for ad hoc querying, which routes through Trino. So now bringing us to the very important part, which here is the governance layer, right? Which we feel DataHub is our centerpiece there. So we enable, we enable governance through certain actions that we do. For one of the things like we do data discovery and lineage via DataHub. We also do data quality via our own custom code, but we want to portray that quality into DataHub. And then what we want to do is like there are platform matrices which are there. Okay, then there are data matrices which are there, and then there are compute matrices which are there, and there are a lot of SLIs which you need for governing. So governance is basically you want to know. So once you know, you want to control better. So we use this our ELK monitoring stack along with some ticketing solution to facilitate governance. See, we also, you want to use, we actually did a strong project around how you can control the data access via using DataHub. So we have for access, we use Apache Ranger. The Apache Ranger can talk to your DataHub for specific metadata, which can control who accesses what based on the tags and for example, the PII tags which are there. So in a traditional fashion, in the older data lakes, Apache Ranger used to communicate to things like Atlas, but in place of that, we have DataHub here. And one of the other pieces that we have here is cost measurement that we want to do as part of the computational governance that we want to bring in. So basically, this is something which you know by the name FinOps. So, and all this is, enabled via over an elastic compute layer. So, which gives us all the flexibility that we need. Over to you, Vivek.
Thanks. So as I said, we'll now go on to showcasing how the different dimensions of a data product are being covered by DataHub. For example, here, what we've done is that in our ingestion journeys, the information that is required to be ingested, all of that needs to be cataloged, and all business descriptions are to be made present as a prerequisite for anybody to do those ingestions. We do understand that getting metadata in can be a challenge, and therefore we've knowingly, willingly put in a kind of friction in place so that governance essentially becomes a long-term play. As you can see on the screen, there's DataHub that needs to get referred, and the URN essentially then gets reflected in this form. Whatever metadata which is associated with the data which is getting ingested also gets reflected in the data that essentially has gotten ingested into our data lake. As Shikhar was saying, we want to make data more discoverable, and hence what we've done is used the DBT as a transformation engine because all of its lineage essentially gets reflected onto DataHub. DataHub has all connectors to provide this visibility. Similarly, we want data to be trustworthy, and that's where again, the assertions which a user is able to specify in DBT gets reflected, the trends, etc. of those assertions get reflected here. Similar, the way DBT provides assertions capability for transformation. Similarly, for ingestion, even though we have a custom tool, we have implemented a custom assertions so that there is a library of assertions that the users can use both at record level and at aggregate level. And all those assertions also are reflected onto DataHub the way you are able to see on the screen. The next dimension of a data product is that it needs to be self-describing. One of the reasons, again, that we went with DBT was that there was the code or the script that a user writes for doing transformations gets visible on DataHub, which you are able to see on the left part of the screen. On the right part of the screen is what the stewards of the data, another critical role that's there in data mesh, is that of a steward to maintain the understandability of the data that their domain generates, and the responsibility of the steward is present here. Also, the roles, etc., are very tightly coupled to the data products that get generated, which essentially get reflected as the owners of the data product. So if there are any queries, etc., which are related to it, users can essentially know whom they need to contact. Another dimension was about creating secure data products. And for access control, as Shikhar was saying, we're going to use a tag-based approach. Tags is essentially what DataHub provides as a mechanism to put in metadata about the metadata. And we would be leveraging this information to define tag-based policies in Ranger. Finally, it's about making the data usable. And here, one of the challenges that as an enterprise organization that we face is that we want to empower our business users to do exploratory data analysis. And given the volume of data that we have, it essentially is going to be big data. And there is a gap that we needed to fill in terms of the SQL proficiency that the users have to interact with their data. It is over here that we are using DataHub for putting in all the business context, which is through catalog enrichment. Using Elastic, another key stone in our data stack that we are using for various purposes, to leverage one of its large language models to create a knowledge graph, which we then use to pass on the identified metadata to answer users' queries to ChatGPT, and finally getting a SQL so that the users can run on top of Oracle to do their exploratory data analysis. So this again is where DataHub plays a very pivotal role for us to make data usable. We just want to thank the Acryl team for supporting us in this journey. We've been in this journey for the past 1 year. And even though we are in the open source version, the Acryl team has been very, very helpful in answering all our queries and coming back to us with solutions. So thanks again. Thanks, Mico.
Thank you.
Yay. Thank you so much. All right. So thank you, Airtel. Let me go ahead and put back on the screen here. And so I saw there was a question in the chat. If you guys could go ahead and address that. I did see one question. Thank you guys for that. And we'll share the recorded presentation. Love, love, love the case study. So thank you guys. And thank you for coming from India. I know it's late over there. So thanks everybody for joining. That was awesome. All right. Yes. Give a round of applause, everybody. Thank you. Round of applause. All right. So now we are going to bring on the lovely Miss Maggie, and she is going to share with you guys how we did in 2023. You ready to roll?
Ready to roll.
All right.
Let me get this share in. So for those of you, in case we've not met, my name is Maggie Hays. I'm the founding community product manager for DataHub. Been on the team for about 2.5 years at this point. And this is the third time that I'm doing a year in review. And I got to say, this is the most satisfying part of my job, to like actually take the time and reflect and understand kind of all the ways that we've grown and you know, kind of work together. I think it's easy to get kind of lost in the busyness of our day-to-day. And so I really love to take the time to kind of look back and reflect and really celebrate all of our successes. So without further ado, I put together a summary of all things DataHub community, DataHub open source project. So let's dig on into it. So just kind of thinking about like, who are the members of our community? We, like Mico said earlier on, we are so close to 10,000 people. We grew, we added over 40, I think it's actually like 4,300 people in 2023, which means we nearly doubled the size of our community in 12 months. I also looked into this. We have folks from 94 countries. The last time I did this, we had 56. So holy moly, that is a lot of global adoption. And needless to say, the Slack community is literally always on. So no matter where you are in the world, there's someone online that will probably be able to talk to you. In terms of our kind of like the roles that people have in their day-to-day job, we see a pretty even split between data engineers and software engineers. The thing that I'm personally very excited about is this year we saw a much bigger influx of data scientists, product managers, and specifically analytics engineers. I know, of course, this is, you know, kind of a small, it's about 10% of our overall roles, but it's awesome to see that we have folks who are kind of more in the analytics engineers, kind of interfacing more with a business user. Love to see that they're here. The other thing in terms of the industries that we see within the community, this is pretty consistent with what we saw last year in terms of kind of a bias towards B2B or B2B or B2C, e-commerce, fintech, et cetera. But we actually did see a pretty big jump in the number of hospitals and healthcare companies that are coming in, as well as higher education. So like universities, but also like learning software, learning tools. So long story short, the community has exploded over the last year. I remember I joined the community when there were maybe 70 people. So when I say that this is hard for me to comprehend, I genuinely mean it is hard for me to comprehend how we've gotten this far so fast. It's outstanding. If you've joined the Slack community within the past year, you should have received a kind of onboarding survey from me in Slack. And a lot of what we ask in there is, you know, trying to understand, why are people joining? What's bringing them here? And also, where are they in their adoption stage? That really, really helps inform for us where we can focus our resources. So, you know, again, we had about 4,500 people join this year, and almost a quarter of you responded to our onboarding flow to help us understand what you know, kind of what brought you here. So we had 1,200 people respond to it, which is just outstanding. But, you know, primarily where folks are coming in is to learn more about DataHub and also get some troubleshooting support. So that's, you know, consistent with what we kind of see from our kind of conversations or Slack activity in there. And then overall, we had about 900 people respond with their adoption stage. We do see a pretty even split between either evaluating DataHub or actually running a POC, but awesome to see that we also have a large set of folks that are either currently running in production or rolling it out to their stakeholders. So again, this is kind of consistent. This is skewed a little bit more within the community, or within this kind of like new user survey, skewed a little bit more to that evaluation or POC stage. So slightly different from what we saw in our survey today. But nonetheless, I think it's very interesting. And again, it really helps us prioritize or inform our priorities on kind of our community initiatives, our developer resources, et cetera. I need to keep my eye on time because I could talk about this forever. So in terms of how we interacted in Slack, consistently we saw about 1,100 weekly active users in Slack. Like I said, Slack community is always on. We sent over nearly 80,000 messages. Hard to wrap my head around that one. You know, 8,300 emoji reactions within the year. I can confidently say that Mico and I probably made up a good 50% of that, but love to see the engagement there. The other thing is I took a look at our virtual events throughout the year, and we had 913 of you joined us in one or more of our town halls month over month, which is just fantastic to me, right? If we kind of compare that to the growth of the community, we had 4,500 people join, 913 people are joining our live events throughout the year. It's a nice kind of about 20% of folks are coming in to kind of participate in a live setting. That's fantastic. The other thing in the 913 town hall attendees, I think we had about 30% of people came back at least once. So we have a lot of repeat visitors as well. So if you're one of them, welcome back. And then, like Mico said, we had our very first DataHub marathon. It was a tremendous amount of fun. We had 129 people join us total. That includes both the Acryl team and everybody from the community. And it is something that we're excited about kind of trying out again on a monthly basis. If you have suggestions or ideas there, want to have any ideas of how we can make that a better experience, we're all ears. So with our town hall events, as we just heard from the Airtel team, every month we highlight a new company who has adopted DataHub and wants to share their experience with us. Putting this graphic together, it blew my mind, just like the sheer volume or kind of like breadth of industries, but also these are companies that are working at extreme scale of data, right? These aren't like kind of mom and pop shops. Like these are companies that are solving really, really hard problems by using DataHub. And so massive shout out to all the folks that presented or kind of shared their experience with us in 2023. And if you haven't seen those sessions, they're always available on our YouTube channel, so you can go check that out. All right, let's talk contributions. So over 2023, we had 263 code contributors to our project. That is outstanding. We also, so the project's been around for a good chunk of time. I think overall, I just double checked it. I think historically or like all time, we have around 460 contributors. And so, more than half of those happened within the last year, which is just outstanding. We also merged 2,000 PRs, which again, guys, that's a lot of freaking work. So, holy cow. We did see consistently on a monthly basis between about 35 to 45 contributors. We did see a little bit of a dip in activity during the summer months, which is expected, and a little bit of a dip in the kind of holiday season, again, expected, but just a ton of activity happening there. This project moves fast. So thinking about that, what did we build this year? So looking at Q1, from a kind of UI perspective, we rolled out, and actually I shouldn't say we, the Grab team contributed a brand new or kind of improved what you see is what you get documentation experience. You can see an example of this up here where you have kind of rich highlighting or rich formatting with code blocks or various like just like the standard documentation editor experience that you would expect. That was a huge win for us and something that the community had long been asking for, and the Grab team really stepped up and made that happen for us. The other thing that we rolled out is time-aware lineage. And so you can kind of see this in the screenshot down here. This is really useful when your dependencies evolve over time, and you really just want to see, what was the state of dependencies at a given moment in history, right? So maybe you can, or just kind of like help with debugging or really inspecting what that dependency chain looks like. The other thing, so on the dev experience side of things, we had a bunch of improvements to our quick start and Docker Compose experience setup, specifically on M1 machines. I mean, I don't know if anybody has PTSD flashbacks to getting M1 up and running. That cutover was a challenge, but we got there. The other thing is that Shirshanka and Herschel rolled out DataHub Lite, which is an experimental API to make DataHub a really lightweight package on your local machine, so that you could quickly use the command line to introspect your metadata graph during development. It's something that, honestly, I think we've really been kind of sleeping on a little bit. Shirshanka, we should really be highlighting this a lot more because it's super impactful. But yeah, that was something that we rolled out earlier in the year. I do need to keep a track of time, so I'm going to move a little bit more quickly through this. In Q1, from an ingestion side of things, we were super focused on performance improvements, consistency in the types of metadata that we're extracting from kind of our top sources. So the net new ingestion source we rolled out was support for JSON schemas, but the bigger accomplishment that quarter, excuse me, was really supercharging a lot of our core and widely adopted ingestion sources there. So awesome work from the team on that one. In Q2, on the kind of user experience side of things, we rolled out our unified search and browse experience. This was so well received by the community. Really what this allowed for us to do is to present our search and browse experience in a single spot and make it much more intuitive on kind of the browse path side of things, intuitive in how data practitioners are familiar with actually navigating these hierarchies of entities. We also rolled out much more intuitive filtering and much more like ease of use there. The other thing on the kind of search experience, we rolled out this kind of quick filter functionality, so you can quickly filter by an entity type, or you can jump in directly to the most relevant resources to really just kind of speed up that search to discovery side of things. We also rolled out custom ownership types. This was something that was long requested, so great work there. I think that was also maybe a community contribution. I can't remember, but if it was, thank you for that contribution. And this is also the quarter where we started rolling out support for data products via YAML. We have a ton of great past sessions. If you want to learn about that, I encourage you to check out our YouTube channel to see those deep dives there. We also, on the CLI side of things, rolled out support for time series deletes for time series aspects. Those can get really large in size, so it's a great way to kind of keep your environment tidy. And then on the integration side of things, we rolled out our initial support for Unity Catalog, and then a bunch of lineage improvements and also functionality. So for one, you could start to define column level lineage via YAML. So if it's not automatically extracted from source, you can actually define that via YAML, so you can kind of manage the quality or the coverage of that much more effectively. We also rolled out lineage performance improvements to our kind of main, excuse me, our main warehouse sources, and then also stateful ingestion for a bunch of other sources as well. Moving on to Q3, we continued on the theme of making improvements to our search experience. This was a really fun one. We as a team came together for, I think it was about 2 or 3 weeks, and we kind of swarmed on making a bunch of small but very impactful improvements to the search experience. So this is really just a snapshot of it all, but what you'll see is this, we moved our views, our DataHub, or like search results views. We moved that into the search bar experience to make it much more intuitive for folks to understand what filters have been applied. We also rolled out context highlighting, so you can understand, your search term, what you put in, and why is it matching. And then the big one that was long requested and we were excited to deliver was the ability to sort your results by relevance, by name, and by the time that they were last modified. On the dev experience side of things, like I said, in the earlier quarter, we were rolling out some improvements to our delete CLI for deletes. In this one, we also rolled out support, or sorry, in this quarter, we rolled out support for recursive deletes. Another big one, and we sent out a survey about halfway through the year to all the community, really asking like, what resources, what's missing from the developer experience in our docs environment. And by far, we heard from many, 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 many people, we want version docs. So we built version docs. So on our doc site, you can always jump between our latest versions. So you can look at the docs at the time of that pin. So that was a big win across the board. On the ingestion side of things, we rolled out support for DynamoDB, but I think the biggest feat of this quarter has got to be 𝗿𝗁𝗁 schema-aware column-level lineage. So as folks, or as you may know, or maybe you don't know, column-level lineage is not automatically available out of the box for a lot of data sources. And so what 𝗿𝗁𝗁 built out was the ability to leverage DataHub's awareness of a dataset schema, inspect a query that generated a table, and build out that column-level lineage programmatically. This is incredibly powerful. It has supercharged our coverage of all of the different sources that we're able to automatically extract column-level lineage. If you are interested in that one, 𝗿𝗁𝗁 wrote a fantastic blog post about how we built it, why we built it, all of that fun stuff. It's a great read. Highly recommend that one. And then again, on the column-level lineage side, not surprisingly, it's a very complex job, a very complex process. So we started kind of fine-tuning and building in some performance improvements there. All right, let's round the corner on Q4. The biggest, oh, I just realized there's a little typo there. That's great. The biggest UI or UX improvement that we rolled out and deployed in open source actually came from our feature request portal. We had a ton of folks, I think there was something like 68 upvotes on the ability to have hierarchical management of domains. So we rolled out nested domains in Q4 and really just kind of gave much more flexibility in terms of how you can create and manage those relationships of those domains. This is super helpful for folks that are for teams that are implementing data mesh. So yeah, super excited about that one. On the dev experience side of things, we shipped a ton of fixes to security vulnerabilities. If you are some of those folks who have raised those security incidents to us, thank you so much. We genuinely really appreciate folks bringing those to our attention when they're starting to impact maybe your deployment environment. So big props to the community for helping us rally around those, and big props to the platform team on acryl side for really cranking through those. The other thing that we rolled out was initial support for data products, data contracts created and managed via YAML CLI in our SDK. And then last but not least, on the integration side of things, we leveraged 𝗿𝗁𝗁's hard work on that schema-aware column-level lineage and rolled it out to basically all of our SQL ingestion sources. And then we also snuck in some integration support for Fivetran. So that's a lot of me talking, but most importantly, that was a lot of y'all building and a lot of y'all coming together and helping each other and connecting. And I just gotta say, what a ride it's been. Oops, I can't see where Zoom went, but I'm trusting that you're still there. It has been an amazing ride. I am so honored to have this role and to be working alongside all of you guys. And I genuinely can't even begin to imagine what we're going to accomplish in 2024. So big love. I appreciate you all. I will hand it over to Mico and Shirshanka.
Hello, Maggie. Thank you so much. And just to be clear, we are going to get that infographic, right, to share with everybody.
Oh yeah, we'll be sharing it out. Put
Yeah,
a lot
okay.
of work into that one. We'll be sharing it out.
All right, awesome. Okay, so last but not least, thank you, Maggie. We have the awesome Shirshanka. And so Shirshanka, am I sharing your slides? Because your update is what to expect and what's coming in 2024. I think there's a lot of people also waiting to hear. You want me to share?
I can share.
Okay, let's rock and roll. And by the way, do not sign off when he's done. I do want to do a quick survey to find out what you guys think about our content. So if you could hang around for like 60 seconds after, I'd really appreciate that. All right, rock and roll time.
Awesome. Hey, everyone. Super excited to share what we're building next year, just to make sure that last year wasn't enough. Here we go. Everyone can see my screen.
Yep, you're good to go.
Yep.
All right.
You're good.
So I think it's useful to think about 2024 first in terms of what the hell is DataHub and what is its mission even? Like, what is this team building and why are they even building it? So our mission really is to build the world's best metadata platform. And what we want to do by building it is enable you to have highly effective data teams. And these highly effective data teams are ones that can create, work with, produce, consume reliable, trustworthy data assets. And so what you'll see in kind of how we talk about the roadmap, both for DataHub and acryl-cloud, I mean, I'm only going to cover DataHub today, but how we think about DataHub's mission is really enabling you to create these highly effective data teams. So with that, let's move on to the first mission, which is how do we build the world's best metadata platform? The platform, DataHub's platform is known for being very extensible, very dynamic. A lot of people, you've heard about case studies where people have said, we chose DataHub because it has an extensible metadata model. We chose DataHub because it's easy to push metadata in. And so we want to double down on those investments and make it even better this year. Step one, actually already done. Thanks, David, for that. We wanted to move to a modern JDK. We've been on Java 8 for a long time and then started inching towards 11. And now we're actually officially on Java 17. So it's modern JDK done. But the other pieces of this platform 1.0 vision are super exciting. And we're actually collaborating with the data team at Netflix to work on this together with them. So it's very exciting. It's going to take us a bunch of time to get this done this year. But the primary goal is to allow the platform to be completely dynamic. So, you've got extensibility of the metadata model. And right now you have to kind of build your own metadata repo on the side, do this patch entity registries that you then have to find out how to deploy jars over to the running system. We're going to make that all dynamic. So you can, at runtime, extend the metadata model, add new entities, add new aspects, new relationships, and get back a dynamically generated, strongly typed OpenAPI endpoint and dynamically generated, strongly typed GraphQL endpoints that are all driven by the model. Super exciting if you're a platform geek like me, because it basically means you can dream up new entity types, new extensions, and you can make the platform just start serving those using strong types that you can then build SDKs off of and then give to your clients. This also will include ability to have pluggable validation hooks, pluggable mutation processing, essentially everything you need to allow for custom extensions on the base platform and the core metadata model. In addition, we'll also solve for logical versions. So, DataHub's platform supports native or system versioning. Every time you produce a new aspect or a new metadata element, we automatically version it based on the diff that we see. So for example, if the schema looked a certain way yesterday, and then you produce a new schema aspect and it looks just a little bit different, we'll mint a new version in the backend. With this feature, we want to support logical externally specified versions. So you can communicate to DataHub that this new data product or this new data contract is a new semantic version, 2.1, 2.3, or maybe assign a monotonically increasing date. And the platform will essentially record it as a logical version and give you versioned APIs to be able to navigate your entity graph. Super exciting stuff, but that's all in kind of the platform bucket. And that's essentially our roadmap for the year. Moving on, integrations. That's the other big thing that DataHub is known for. There's a bunch of stuff that we want to go after. Integrations tend to be the most fast-moving area because we react very quickly to community feedback. These are the ones we already know we're carrying over from our kind of wish list from the last year, what we've heard people really want. ThoughtSpot, Sigma Computing, Spark column level lineage, and Open Lineage. It's been kind of on our plate for a while. It's actually one of the highest voted community requests. We're going to finally do it this year. So it'll come in both in terms of supporting Open Lineage connectors, but also as server-side support for Open Lineage. In addition, actions. So checkout.com talked about how they're using actions to drive a ton of automation in their ecosystem. We're going to support definitely these two actions, support for creating Jira tickets or integrations with Jira and PagerDuty. And finally, on the framework side, there's a bunch of improvements that the ingestion core team wants to make, including logging and management improvements. So those are also going to be coming over to the product. But that's not all. An important piece of how DataHub works is versioning and keeping track of every single change. And with that, we already have an API, we already have CLI support for it. But this year, we want to actually give you that change history view that everyone has wanted for a long time. So being able to see all the changes that DataHub has observed and all the changes that have been made on an asset, whether externally or on the platform, whether it's documentation edits, schema changes, and essentially giving you a filtered timeline for you to actually react and act on those changes. Similarly, incidents, something that people want to use DataHub a lot for, being able to raise incidents on assets via the UI and the API. And like I said with the previous slide, being able to route those incidents over to PagerDuty. So essentially fulfilling our mission of enabling you to have reliable and trustworthy data assets, both managed by your business team members, but also operationally. And then moving on, obviously, data contracts and data products, we've already done quite a bit this year, but we want to move forward and actually support data contract registry with full support for schema and contract evolution checks. So a lot of those validators, a lot of those mutation processes are going to come into use here. So you can actually manage all your data contracts using DataHub and support evolution as well. Same thing for data products. You can use it as a data product registry as well. And additionally, supporting inputs and outputs and giving you kind of that lineage view across your data products and data assets. That's essentially for your data control center, if you're paying attention to the pictures on the right. Moving on, that's not it. DataHub is also super useful for shifting left. A lot of you use DataHub with Git combined, right? And we want to essentially lean into that and make it even easier for you to kind of live this dual life of being in Git and being in DataHub and not having to worry about who knows what. So one of the biggest feature requests we've seen on this front is being able to write back to origin systems that are hosted in Git or even otherwise. So being able to synchronize doc edits back into dbt, Snowflake, wherever the origin system is, that's something we plan to work on. And then really getting better at shift left impact analysis. You probably know we already have a dbt impact analysis GitHub action. We want to make it even better, and then provide general support for any SQL DDL or any schema files that you might be checking into Git. You make an edit to it, we should be able to figure out what you're impacting. We should be able to comment on that PR and tell you what the impact of your change might be. CSV, I know it's kind of still surprising. Is this really 2024? We're still talking CSV, but yes, we are. CSVs continue to be important, and interoperability with CSVs continues to be important. So we're going to make a bunch of improvements into our CSV import and export capabilities, so you can, again, go back and forth between these systems without losing data or metadata in this case. So that's our DataHub as the chip at the center of your data stack, if you want to think of it that way. And then moving on, we've got our data analyst or our business analyst. They finally discovered the data asset that they really want to use, but they don't know what to do next. And that's where DataHub steps in and helps you with access management. So we want to reduce friction in accessing the data that you actually finally discovered. And that involves, we just heard Airtel talk about how they've integrated DataHub with Ranger. We want to bring that mainstream into the open source project. So you can basically request access to data and have your systems automatically provision those access for you, or go over into your access management tools like Jira if you're doing a more manual provisioning process, and kind of have that access management get handled for you. Next thing, and this is a big one, actually exploring data. Like, why stop at looking at just the metadata when you can actually query the data? So we plan to do integrations with Querybook. The Pinterest team actually is very interested in collaborating with us on this. And guess what? Pinterest is actually building Querybook. It's an open source project that they have created. So it's going to be a great collaboration with the two companies and the two teams to kind of integrate DataHub with Querybook to provide an in-app exploration capability. But that's not all. Business analysts also love metrics. They also love dimensions, and they really hate events because events are always modeled wrong and they always contain the wrong information, but they look almost right. So we want to support them as first-class entities, all the way from your product, being able to describe what events you have, and then being able to define metrics as driven by those events and dimensions. And that rounds out our kind of capabilities that we want to essentially enable business analysts and data analysts to feel really happy with this product experience. But that's not all. There's also folks that want to think about the logical model of the business. So I've got this concept called a customer, and it looks like this. Don't bother me with the fact that there are thousands of Snowflake tables or maybe 5 Snowflake tables. Let me kind of look at my business in terms of logical entities, logical fields, and the relationships between them. I think in the last town hall, I talked about how the Visa team has been working on this project. They actually already have an RFC that they are contributing to in terms of supporting logical fields and logical entities as a first-class concept in the metadata model. So that's going to be amazing because it allows DataHub to not only support technical assets, but also logical assets, things that architects really love, ER models and stuff like that. And then in terms of the business glossary, we've had consistent feedback that people want to organize the business glossary and give it a little more delight. So being able to configure the UI to support, icons and colors for business glossary elements, and then also supporting that beautiful bidirectional sync with Git. Again, we've done some work on this bidirectional sync with Git, but we want to kind of make it official and make it generally available this year. And then last but not the least, actually looking at your metadata KPIs over time, actually making sure that all of the work that you're putting in to improve your data practices are actually leading to fruition. So providing an improved analytics page so you can actually see your important metrics improving over time. So maybe you're tracking ownership improvements over time, or documentation, or coverage of tags or glossary terms over time, ensuring that you can run those initiatives and see those initiatives actually surface in the product. And that is finally it. So this is an overall roadmap. Obviously, we don't have specific quarterly deliverables that we have pulled out yet, but this is essentially the short list for everything we want to go after this year. And with that, back to you, Mico.
Thank you. All right. Wow. Shirshanka, let me ask, are we officially publishing that roadmap or?
Absolutely. It is now officially published.
Yay. Okay, guys. So I'll make sure and put it within our Slack channel. I do ask because things change fast around here. You guys know we're developing really quickly, but thank you guys so much. Yay. Raj is excited. Okay, so before you guys go here, I know that we're at the hour. I just want to run a very quick, one of the things that we're doing is just evaluating to make sure that our content is useful for you. So if you guys don't mind, first of all, thank you for joining. And if you could answer a quick poll here, we will let you guys go ahead and out. Thank you guys so much. Let me go ahead and launch the poll. You guys could take 2 seconds just to let us kind of know how we did. We do appreciate that. And as usual, we will provide the slides and oh, I see Shirshanka. Well, Shirshanka, while they're doing the poll, you could do it right now. No people are doing the poll. I saw you mention Optum.
Optum shout out.
Yeah. Thanks to Optum. All right. I'll wait until we get about 50% capacity, and then we will sign off. If you have completed the poll and you don't want to see the results, you can go ahead and head out. I know we're about 1 minute over here.
And also, if you have feedback for the roadmap, please let us know. This is obviously our interpretation of the feedback. If you saw something that you're like, how come they didn't talk about this? Please let us know.
Yep. And you guys can obviously put that in the third question for the survey as well. Feel free to put all that feedback in the third question. All right, I'll leave it open. We still have a few more responses coming in. We have about 68% response, 77. All right, let's see here. I will close it in 2 seconds. Anybody else? All right. Okay, thank you, everybody. I will go ahead and end the poll. And I will share the results because I think it's super helpful here. These are really good results. So in rating overall, I will say I didn't do the numbers here, but about 30, 60, almost 90% of people gave us an 8 and above. Thank you. Hopefully those that give us anything below an 8 will let us know why, because we're always interested in improving. It looks like everything was a real hit here. So it looks like Maggie and Shirshanka and Airtel, you guys did really well. In terms of showing what you have here for the community. And then, as you guys know, in the last question on how we can make the event better, thank you for replying. We'll go ahead and respond. So just thank you guys for the feedback. It looked like the content was great, and we'll go ahead and provide the recording. All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Happy New Year.
Thank you.
We'll see
Happy
ya.
New Year. See you guys January 25th. And don't forget Shirshanka's show next week. Bye-bye.